Welcome to Second Take, the show that focuses on the issues behind the news. Airbus Military recently held a trade media briefing in Spain. Senior contributing editor Keith Campbell attended on behalf of Engineering News and joins me now in studio to talk about the highlights from a South African perspective. Keith, welcome to Second Take. Well, the conference took place against a backdrop of a strain in relationships between the company and South Africa, given the South African government's decision to cancel the A400M order. Was the matter raised?
Well, yes, it was raised by me. You must understand the trade media briefing of Airbus Military. And a week before, the Airbus group, the whole group, had its annual Innovation Days briefing for the aviation media. These bring together journalists and Airbus PRs from all over the world. So, of course, everybody is interested in their corner of the world, and the journalists from, say, Brazil are not so interested in what's happening to the South African program. Now, I was able to briefly raise the matter, ask questions both of Airbus Group CEO Tom Enders at the Airbus Innovation Days, which were in the United Kingdom, and with the CEO of Airbus Military, Domingo Urena, who is based in Spain.
Now, Keith, what are the prospects for the work packages that were placed with companies, South African companies, as a direct result of the A400M? What was that matter discussed?
Well, that's the interesting point. Airbus Military, as part of the deal with South Africa, two South African companies received work packages. Another couple of South African companies won contracts for components on an open tender basis. So they're not affected by this. But the two companies were Aerosud, which is a private sector company, and they manufacture mainly internal fittings for the A400M, but they also do the wingtips. And the Saab Aerostructures is responsible for significant components of the aircraft. Originally, they were responsible for the wing fuselage fairings and for the center fuselage top shelves, and for the main spar, it was called the sword and ribs of the vertical tail. Now, recently, as is now well known, the work package for the sword and ribs of the vertical tail was taken away from the Saab Aerostructures, which is predominantly a state-owned company. But the indications from the senior management of Airbus and Airbus Military is that they want to talk to the South African government about the future of the program and about the future of the work packages. The point, Airbus's view is that you don't just cancel a contract like this from one day to the next, because there are lots of loose ends. The work packages are pretty enormous loose end involved in this. And especially as the government gave two reasons for cancelling the A400M contract. One, it was delayed, that's true, and Domingo Urena made a point of stressing that South African government had every right to cancel the deal because the company had failed to meet the deadlines it had guaranteed. But the other reason given by South Africa was, of course, huge cost overruns. It was claimed late last year that it was going to cost South Africa 30 billion rand more. Now, we now know that's nonsense. We now know that the total cost increase for the 7 European core partners of the A400M project combined is in the order of 30 billion rand. So the figure for South Africa was gigantically exaggerated, and we also now know that at the time of cancellation, Airbus had not even approached South Africa about the possibility of a price increase. Airbus would really like to find out where the South African government got this figure of 30 billion rand from. They have suspicions, but they'd like to know. Now, continuing with this, there is the fact that it's not easy to move work packages. The one that was taken away from Denel Saab Aerostructures is quite small. It's probably going to go to Turkey. Turkey has 10 A400Ms on order and is apparently pushing Airbus for a bigger share of the pie. But the other Denel Saab Aerostructures work packages are rather substantial, and Domingo Ureña pointed out that the South African companies are not receiving offsets. They're partner supplier companies. The South Africans played a major role in designing these components. They weren't designed in Europe and the South Africans are making them. The detailed design and engineering development was all done here. So moving them isn't easy. And he's indicated that the South African companies have been meeting their targets and obligations, and that it would be very difficult to move work away from a company that was doing this. So he actually stated that they'd stay here, to quote him literally, for a big time. But of course, what is not clear is how long a time that is, whether he's thinking of the next 2 or 3 years, or whether he's thinking for the whole initial production run of the A400M program. That we'll have to wait and see. Talks are likely to continue for some time. Airbus CEO Tom Enders expressed the hope that serious discussions will get underway after the conclusion of the World Cup, which of course finishes July the 11th.
Keith, besides the A400M, Airbus military also has some other interests in the country. Are there any new developments in this regard?
Well, yes, so two things. Firstly, people don't realize that Airbus military aircraft are already in service in South Africa, partially because when they were bought, the company Airbus military didn't exist. The South African Air Force's 44th Squadron operates C-212 light transport aircraft and CN-235 light medium transport aircraft, according to published sources, 4 C-212s and 1 CN-235. Now, these were produced by a Spanish company called CASA. CASA was taken over by Airbus and absorbed into Airbus military, and Airbus military is now responsible for the manufacture and support of these aircraft. And early in May, Airbus military and Arms Corps signed a contract under which the European company will be providing future integrated service and support for the aircraft operated by the South African Air Force. The other development is that Airbus military have confirmed that they're going to be bidding for 2 future but related South African Air Force projects. We don't have a timeline for these projects yet, but the South African Air Force wants to buy 5 what they call maritime patrol aircraft, which are equipped to undertake anti-submarine warfare, and 7 maritime surveillance aircraft, which will be equipped to monitor surface ships but have no combat capability. And also a number of aircraft of the same type as the maritime surveillance to undertake medium transport. And Airbus military is going to offer its C-295 aircraft in all 3 roles because they are busy completing development of an anti-submarine version of the C-295. That program will end at the end of this year. They already have a maritime surveillance version of the C-295, which is an operation with the Portuguese Air Force and the Chilean Navy. And the C-295 basic transport aircraft is in wide use around the world. So they will be bidding for that project.
Keith, thank you very much. That is the Second Take show for this week. Thank you for watching and join us again next time for more news analysis.